Hey, welcome to another typology interview. We have Shannon. How's it going?
Hi, good. How are you?
Going good, yeah. So I know in the Facebook community, you've been sort of like a topic of controversy right now because a lot of people are
Apparently.
disagreeing with you just got your type back and you knew your type,
Yeah.
like you put your
hmm
type in right.
hmm
And I already know that you're an ENFP, some sort of ENFP, right? With
Yeah.
a low sleep and including myself, I was seeing a high sleep.
It's midway.
Midway, right? Yeah, yeah,
Actually, Dave and Shan weren't entirely 100% like they couldn't disprove or like prove. They're just kind of leaning towards more play with me.
right.
So,
Interesting. Okay, so
yeah.
maybe we'll get a little deeper here
Yeah.
and figure it out.
hmm
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about how you get started in typology.
Um how didn't I mean, I've psychology's been an interest my entire life. Um but I really got into like the online typology community way back in 2000, like late 2013. I left college. I wasn't happy. Um, and I wanted to make sure that I wasn't just like I was seeing all of my peers graduate with their degrees, like in something they're interested in and not getting jobs. They were selling pizza and like, or sitting in like desk jobs they hated and just they weren't happy. And I didn't want that to be me. And I
Right.
didn't want to wake up at like 45 or 55 going, oh my God, like, what did I do with my life? So I really, really wanted to dive in like more intensely into, okay, like, who am I? What exactly am I good at? Like, what would I like to do? Um,
Were you feeling a bit trapped by the path you'd chosen?
I knew what I was interested in and what I liked, but I couldn't, I was so young. I didn't understand like how that translated in the external, you
Right.
know? So I was trying to make a map for myself of like life.
Okay.
So I
Okay.
found these
So it
really
wasn't
good.
like a desire for freedom that you left college. That wasn't the reason.
No, it was definitely like an FI. Like, this isn't working. I'm not finding, like, things aren't making sense. I'm not finding like life to make sense or what I should be doing to make sense and falling on my lap. Like, I gotta, and nobody can give me the answers. I gotta figure this all out.
Uh-huh.
And I don't want to move forward until I figure this out.
Okay. So then how did you start typology then?
Yeah, that was yeah, when I got home, I just started. I'm a lead consume, and I just found a whole bunch of typology YouTube videos, and I'm like, yeah, like this makes sense. Yeah, like I love this, and discovered that they had Facebook communities, and was like, wow, people who are interested in what I'm interested in. This is fantastic, and you know, just
Right.
kept diving down the rabbit hole.
Cool. So then um why why do you think people are confusing you with lead sleep all the time?
um, Probably because I don't have anyone to bounce off of when I'm trying to talk in videos, and
Okay.
I'm trying to slow down because I'm blast last and don't know how to
Oh.
make my NF make sense. I know this from like constant talking to people in the real world. If I talk freely and actually like myself, like no one has any idea like what I'm saying or what's going on. Even will get kind of angry, like
Uh-huh.
frustrated. So I'm trying really, really hard to take my time and think about how do I explain this. But it's I still have development to do in that area, so it's still not clear. It just looks sleepy.
Okay. So you said you had a masculine NE,
Yes.
and that's your lead function.
hmm
So do you see that? Like, is that something that's present for you?
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's the whole like main lens of perception of my life.
Okay. So like, how does it come into? I don't know, how does it show itself in your life? How does it do that lens of perception thing that you're talking about?
um, well, I'm constantly like, I don't just like walk into a room and see things like physically. Like that's very like that straightforward obvious stuff um isn't obvious for me. I have to like build these mental schematics of what everything is. But I'm very, very certain of those mental schematics, you know what I mean? Um
What about the desire for freedom? Do you have that? Do you not like to be boxed in or trapped or narrowed down
oh
your?
yeah. Oh, for
Yeah.
sure. For sure.
So do you have like a
Um
sensory maybe example of the past where you refuse to be boxed in something or?
yeah, for sure. Like there's usually continuous issues where I leave groups or just up and leave, um, move out or whatever from places, whatever, and very, very quickly. Like I know how to leave pretty abruptly. When the choice comes down to um, conforming to tribe, who I think are completely misinterpreting me and not allowing me to do what I need to do, um, or not having that group system.
Hmm. Do you see a lot of possibilities in the immediate future or in the moment? Do you see a lot of connections and things going on that maybe other people don't see?
Oh yeah, yeah. I kind of thought like when I was younger, I almost wondered if I was like crazy or like stupid or something because I pointed out all these things, and most people's reaction is like, "What are you talking about? Like, no, that's not it." And then again, as time would go on, like the patterns would show up, and they'd be like, "Wow, that happened." I'm like, "Yes, like no kidding."
Uh-huh. Um, what
And
about
it took a long
sorry, go
time to
ahead.
figure out what it I was just saying it took me a long time to figure out why that was,
Right.
sadly. Like I was like, "Oh, I just have something. I'm just contributing something to the world that not everybody else has."
Do you, do you find that you jump to conclusions a lot? Have you been
No.
accused of it? Coming to conclusions too quickly?
No,
No,
actually.
no.
No.
Do you,
I'm pretty
okay.
laid back.
Do you find that a little bit of sensory is enough for you to see something deeper?
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you find that you get fixated on that deeper thing and not on the facts as well?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Because I already have like all the setup in my mind. And as soon as I get that little bit of data, like it's just like pinging through all of this like preset mental structure. And I'm like,
Uh-huh.
aha, that affirms it. I know
Right.
exactly what I'm seeing.
Do you find that that the patterns you're seeing sort of are converging on a single, like, do you find, would you rather have one concept that applies to many different things or many different concepts that you can apply whenever you want?
It's a good question. Like one concept that applies to everything or many different concepts at any given time.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I would like the one concept that could apply to
Right.
everything, but that's not the way my brain works.
Okay.
I have like for instance when I was while I was waiting to get typed and group was talking to me, I knew what I knew, and I had it like over here. I'm like, "Yep, this is what I know. This is everything." Like I'm willing to always like knock down and rebuild what I know, that concept of reality once it's proven. Um, but we'll put that aside. This is the whole structure. And here's like a little couple of micro like seeds, let's say, of possibilities of if I got disproven this way or that way and we're following their thinking, this is how it could be. And I'm just kind of like watching that.
Do you find that you're discovering the world, or that you're creating the world?
A little bit of both.
Right. Do you find that the concepts that you're discovering concepts out in the world, or that you're creating concepts in the world?
Well, first and foremost, I discover.
Okay.
And then from there, like once I really, really know something, or it just keeps showing up in the world, then I kind of use that to twist anything that's like not convenient or not working for me to make it better.
Do you maybe have like a sensory example that you can tell us just to clarify? Yeah. Make it a little bit more clear.
Right. Immediate examples. Oh my gosh, I can't think of anything.
Yeah, it's a hard question. Yeah, you're definitely intuitive. Yeah. Yeah. Unable to give the sensory. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So my first job, I worked at this department store called Marshall's. And they started me as a clerk. I slowly wiggled my way over to working on the floor, like, which is basically like picking up and reorganizing everything in the store and helping out anybody in other stations, like the fitting room, the cashiers, the people in the back unloading things. And there was a certain way that like you had to do everything. And at first I went along with it. Like it didn't make sense for me. But I tried just to understand the thought process of like why they were doing that. And then like you had to go do one task, like pick up the things, then walk over to like the fitting room and take clothes by hands and like carry them over. And then when you finished that, you went over to the other thing. Didn't work for me, didn't make sense. Seemed like more effort than needed to be. So after I did that enough time to understand, like, oh, this is just sensor like consecutive thinking to make sense to them. And you just basically have to do these handful of tasks. I went and invented a new solution. So I took a whole like clothes rack on wheels that was empty and just started carrying it around with me everywhere, and it has a base on the bottom. So I'd put items that need to be put away on the bottom and start taking clothes from like cashier and like the dressing room person and started hanging them up and just wheeling them around with me. So I was doing that all the time and it was quicker. And I
Right.
started rearranging things in the store like in a totally different way so that it was like easier. So I didn't have to like dig through things. It was just there because that was like too detailed and too much for me. And the customers actually were like starting to buy more stuff because like it was right there in their face.
Uh-huh.
So it actually worked really well and it started being like the new thing. But I remember this other girl like was talking to my manager, like saying, well, why does Shannon get to do whatever she wants? She's not doing what you're telling us to do. He said, because Shannon gets shit done. That's
Right.
why.
Uh-huh. Yeah. it's really interesting because like this is also narrowing what you're explaining. Like you're narrowing down a process that's more efficient.
Yeah.
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 Well,
So it's like I'm not following the rules, but I am. I'm just altering.
tell me, what about energy dominant? Do you see that present in your life?
Oh yeah. Hmm.
You're not about the information, you're about the energy.
Yeah, for sure. I'm very aware at all times of how much energy I have to give to certain tasks
Okay,
and like what gives me energy and what drains me.
I
And the
see.
more I work with that, the more efficient I become.
I see. So, what are some of the things that give you energy?
Well, I have like, my intense interests like this, like typology. Um, and when I'm sitting here like comfortable in a quiet, low sensory environment and just diving into that, like NETE play online with the stuff that I'm interested in, I can do that. I can do that all day, every day. I can stay up till 4 a.m. doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then when I have to do like day-to-day tasks, like, oh, you have to file your taxes, you have to give these people a call to do an appointment, you have to write this paper even though it's not on what something you're interested in, or you have to sit here in a room and make small talk with all these people, that's going to drain me quick. um, when I was younger, like I'd try to do it to the same extent as I did play, and like push myself to do that, and didn't understand why I couldn't just do that. And now I'm realizing, um, okay, this stuff doesn't give me energy, and I can't necessarily, like, you can't necessarily just incorporate this stuff into that other stuff. But okay, so I end up having, let's say, the spoons concept. Like I have two spoons for like two major tasks, and I just, again, like in the Marshall's example, I refine it down to like the simplest form of how to get it done. Say, okay, like, no, I can't do this whole thing, but can you make a phone call and set an appointment? Can you do a couple of sit-ups and squats, like in between writing essays,
Hmm.
and slowly get things done that way?
So, like the monotony of things sort of drains you?
Yeah, like it's overwhelming to me and draining, and I just can't sustain interest.
Mm-hmm. What about like you mentioned a little bit, making appointments, keeping appointments, planning things like this? Is this something that drains you? This something that's difficult?
Yeah, I don't naturally track it. Like I don't get the, like like when you talk to people, apparently, like when you talk to people, a lot of people like get a dopamine rush, or if you get applauded for doing something, you like get a rush. That doesn't happen for me. That's not what gives me my energy.
The
So,
validation.
right, I don't really care too much about validation. I don't care about um, connecting so much as I'm really interested in information, and building my intuition all the time. Um, Not that I'm psycho, just that's just how it is for me. Um, so I have to just kind of build up my tolerance and break it down as simple as possible.
Hmm. Um, what about like what about your plans for the future? Are you aware of them? Are they structured?
Oh, extremely. I've spent a long
Okay.
time thinking about this.
Okay.
Hmm.
So like, can you let us in on, you don't have to go into too many details, just like let us in a little bit
Thank you.
on, yeah,
Yeah,
whatever you feel
so
comfortable sharing.
so I've always been very interested in psychology. Like everyone thought I was going to be a counselor. Um, but a knack for I have a knack for body work, like in alternative medicine.
Hmm.
Um, when I went and took like an actual like interest and talents test with a psychologist. Like my top three were like brain surgeon, um, psychiatrist, and naturopathic doctor.
Mm-hmm.
So so basically, I just took my interest and all my various interests versus talents and just combined them. So what I'm doing instead of just going down, like I knew I would like to work with people in like a psychological way, but that just sitting there and listening, like, and talking would not be enough. Like I want to do and actually produce like a highly efficient, personalized result for the person.
Right.
So I'm basically I'm in acupuncture. I'm a massage therapist. I'm going in acupuncture school right now, and also getting a certification to make herbal supplements.
Right.
Um, and this branch of acupuncture is called Five Element. It's basically it's a more psychosomatic, psychological based acupuncture in treating like the underlying psychological patterns and reasons for illness.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm also certified in something called NET, neuro-emotional technique. That's a way of tapping into a person's unconscious to find like underlying unconscious traumas in the body and patterns and releasing them like really quickly and safely. So I'm basically working towards being like I'll probably also get my counseling certification, like license, whatever, after I
It's like
take a break.
a holistic direction you're trying to take.
Yeah, I'm basically going to be like a holistic psychiatrist, counselor.
Right. And do you have like a projection of how you're going to get there in the future? Like right now you're talking about the
Mm-hmm.
certification, like the small steps that you're taking at the moment
Mm-hmm.
but like, the reason, eventually what your practice is going
Yes.
to be. Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah. By 32, I plan to be licensed as as an acupuncturist and NET, all that. And then I'll probably take a break for a couple of years and build a practice. And then I'll do my counseling online. And by 35, I'll have like everything I need. And I'll also produce my own healing system to teach body workers.
Hmm. And it doesn't bother you that you'll get stuck in that kind of work? For you, that's okay?
No, I mean, this is everything I'm interested in combined. And I
Right.
have all the freedom and flexibility I want as an entrepreneur.
Uh-huh. Okay. Interesting. Okay, let's get into your FI a little bit and your identity.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, thanks for that. I'm still not seeing like a
Yeah.
little feedback. I'm still not seeing why. Oh, sorry. One second.
Mm,
It's my woman calling. I'll just pause.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we were talking about maybe getting into your FI a little bit.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. So how do you see your identity? Had you had that point where you needed to get into your identity and you didn't know who you were and finally you figured it out, or?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Like, I would say the number one thing that actually helped me finally develop and move forward, because I was definitely I was definitely behind in terms of like emotional maturity and like producing in the world, because I was so busy like NETE trying things out and playing and figuring out things. The number one thing that really helped me lock in and like grow up and get to where I am was getting a little help tapping into and processing and tapping into my FI.
Mm-hmm. Are you aware of your likes and dislikes in your life? Things that yeah.
Yeah,
Is it a
definitely.
feminine or masculine FI?
Very masculine.
Very masculine. Okay.
Hmm.
So like you don't really change what you like. You like something and that's,
Hmm.
yeah. Is that true?
Yep. Oh yeah.
Okay. So like, what are some of the things that have been constant, for some of the things you like?
Well, I don't know if you can see the calligraphy behind me that I painted.
Oh, you painted that. Nice.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Really cool.
I have a couple of these all over. I've always, like, from the time I was little, been into Japanese and Asian culture.
Hmm.
Still lifelong dream to go to Japan, like in a romantic way with my lifelong partner whenever I find him, and just that whole mindset, like, and culture I like resonated with. Um, always been into Carl Jung and psychology and the human soul, and
Is there like music that
that.
you like more than other music, or
I've got
media?
pretty eclectic like tastes in that way.
Right. Okay.
Um, yeah, but it very much always goes back to resonating with my character and how it's like campy in like the extreme way. Um,
Can you rank
like some
like what you like in hierarchies? Are you aware that this is that better than something else for you? Like,
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
okay.
And it's also a little bit mood dependent. Like I'll constantly be I have a whole bunch of different categories of music I'll be listening to, and I'll kind of sit there and feel it out, and the minute I get like a rush, um, then I know that's what I'm listening to for the day.
Right. So like who's your favorite band in whatever genre that pops into your mind right now?
Right now, what I'm really into is this band slash girl called Poppy. I think
Okay.
she's so ENFP,
Okay.
and that she's playing this character that's like very cute and sweet, but then like scary
Uh-huh.
and intense metal. And she kind of like plays this whole like horror theme. It's amusing.
Cool. So like this you would rank up at the top?
Yeah, right now that's my thing right now.
Awesome. Okay.
Mhm.
What about your personal values? Like, would it be difficult for you to go against a moral value?
Yes, like the number one thing, like I'm very laid back and um, flexible to a point, but when the scary part is when I really like once I love somebody, I love somebody. That's it. Like that never
Uh-huh.
changes. Time is irrelevant. Like I have a hard time even seeing time as a relevant thing. Um, but when I like once I do, um, I will push myself way too hard, and will sometimes do things beyond my own limit for them. And if I trust them and they do something or cause me to do something that goes against my values or like is just disrespectful for a long time, like I break and the reaction's extreme, like you're
Mm-hmm.
done.
Mm-hmm. So like that's a breaking point for you that you can't yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay. Um,
And they'll know it because I say it. I don't just sit there and stew and then all of a sudden blow up on you. Like you've heard it many times,
right.
and I say it very explicitly.
Uh-huh.
So then
Um,
they just keep going.
do you
Like
have a hierarchy of values that you're aware of? Some values higher than others? And are you able to navigate between, like, if two values come against each other, you know which one's more important?
yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think of it in terms of hierarchy, but like if it's a matter of like which one matters more than another in a situation, yeah, absolutely.
Uh-huh. Let's say you got into a company that was doing sort of moral questionable behavior.
Hmm.
Would you leave the company or try and stay and fix whatever this questionable behavior was?
How badly do I need this job? Are there other jobs I can take?
Other jobs you can take, yeah.
Oh, I'd be gone.
You'd be gone. Uh-huh.
Hmm.
Okay, interesting. What about your actual feelings? Are you aware of how you're feeling at all times?
It's a very weird thing. So like most of the time, day to day, I'm like aware, but at the same time, I'm not like directly experiencing it. Like I can state it to you out
Right.
loud, kind of robotically, like, oh yeah, this happened, or yeah, that kind of sucked. But like I'm not feeling it, and I'm not upset. I'm not any kind of way. It's
Uh-huh.
almost shocking to me when people go like, "Oh, wow. Oh my god, that's so wow. That's so sad." I'm like, "Eh."
So your emotional state doesn't really change that drastically, or it does? You don't have mood swings,
I'm
or
um not usually day to day. Like I'm kind of removed and observing them, and I'm pretty steady, and then sometimes like once in a blue moon, if like enough intense things have happened, I'll like wake up in the middle of the night, like, or if I'm just pushed too hard, like, I guess, I'll just wake up in the middle of the night, like in extreme visceral pain,
Mhm.
like crying and can't stop for hours.
Yeah, so I
And
wanted to ask, yeah,
it just kind of
is
overflows.
is your extreme emotional reaction usually one of more anger and aggression, or one more of sadness and crying, or a mix of the two?
Kind of a mix of the two. I'm not the violent type at
No, not
all.
not violent, but yeah, not outwardly violent, but maybe anger more.
I'd say like it's a warning that I'm getting close when I start getting more consistently irritated and biting
Hmm.
in my comments. Like, yeah, consistently angry for like very petty reasons. Um, I know I'm getting too close to my breaking point, like where I'm going to cry, and I can't make myself cry or just like live in my feelings all the time
Hmm.
in that way. That's just not how it happens for me. I'm pretty removed from them most of the time, aware but removed. Um,
Do you feel you have control over your feelings, or they control you, or sometimes a little bit of
oh
both?
no, 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 no. They do not control me. They
Okay.
do not control me. They influence my thinking for sure. Like in terms of like my values influence my thinking.
Hmm.
My feelings, not so much. Like if I have to, like if I see that something needs to get done in the name of a value, like I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna flip. I'm just gonna switch it off and do it.
Hmm. Um, do you see yourself as double deciding?
Deciding.
Like going back and forth between how other people think, or the spectrum. Well, maybe we can get into TE a little bit before we talk about double deciding.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you see your TE? Are you able to use your logical reasoning? Do you see the spectrum of thoughts and the spectrum of reasons in other people? I don't know.
Um, hmm. I'd say I'm good at seeing like the external structure of things, and if I'm not totally sure of what the other spectrum of thoughts would be, then I call my savior TE. I have savior TE friends that I go
Hmm.
to
Yeah.
because I can't organize it and be like, this is what I'm thinking. Is this correct?
Right.
Here's all these things I'm seeing, and they'll say like yes, no,
They'll help
f
you sort
no,
through
yeah,
the logic and the yeah.
and do it much quicker. Yeah.
Uh-huh. So you often go to them for advice to give you that
Hmm.
that feedback,
It'll it'll like speed up the process for
right?
me.
And do you find it's better for you to go to many people, or just the one reliable person?
I have the one reliable person that that I've been friends with for gosh, since 2008.
Okay. And so that's the person you will go to. What happens if that person isn't available?
Um, that does, I mean, sometimes they'll take a while to get back to me
Right.
because she's
Mhm.
an ENTJ and she's got a pretty busy life.
Right.
Um, then I'll just sit there and keep trying to sort through it, or I will look online for like what other people have done. Again,
Right.
searching for the TE reasons if I'm
Uh-huh.
not sure of myself
Looking for that
until she does.
spectrum again.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So so let's say someone gives you advice and you don't really like the advice they gave you. Let's your
Mm-hmm.
friend. I don't know if this has happened or not, but you don't really like the advice that they're telling you to do.
That happens sometimes, not
Will
too
you do it
often, but
still?
occasionally.
Will you do
No,
it still or no?
no, no. I will sit there and think
Find
about
another reason.
why, like, I'll think about why they said what they said and decide if that's correct and pertinent to me.
Let's say you
Um,
see that it's correct and pertinent to you, but you still don't want to do it.
then I'll reluctantly do it.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you see that you're able to go against it though if you wanted to? Like, is it something that like that double deciding? Can you go back and forth between your values and maybe what other people think you should be doing, or what the reasons are on the spectrum?
Um, I do see it. Usually in the end, I find I can only do that for so long. I can only go against what I want to do for so long before like I figure out a way around it that's even better
Hmm.
and efficient. Maybe not as efficient in the consecutive way they want it to be, but I figure it out.
Right. Are you able to see? Do you often look at less what is being said and how it, and then more on how it's being said, and sort of try to read between the lines of what people are actually saying?
Sorry, say that question again.
Yeah, it's a bit confusing. Do you often not really care what people are actually saying and look more on how they're saying it? Do you try to pay attention to that more,
Um,
or both?
it's kind of both. Like I'm looking at the actual words first, and then I try to take into mind like their inflection and who they are and what that means as a reflection of them versus myself.
Do you find that you're able to pick up subtle cues and things like that a lot? Like, is it something that happens a lot that you can tell someone's mood right away? Things like this.
One on one, I'm good at that.
Mm-hmm.
In group settings or like work environments and stuff, no, I'm an idiot.
Uh-huh.
Like, I'm like, I'm a total like FE, like in terms of like FE and all that, I'm a total idiot. Like,
Uh-huh.
and end up in trouble all the time because I get misinterpreted or people try to give me subtle hints like, oh, can you help me with this? Or like say things that they want indirectly, like I don't get it and I keep going and doing what I got to do. So I'm like, there's a job that needs to get done
Right.
and focus in on that. And then all of a sudden someone's blowing up in my face and think that I'm just don't care. And I'm like, wait, what?
Uh-huh. Are you worried about
What
being
just
socially
happened?
awkward at all, or is that something that's okay?
Um, that was something my parents were always worried about. I was not too worried about.
Right. Yeah.
I
Um,
find like once you sit down and like talk with somebody, like, hey, what happened there? Like it's easy to figure out.
uh-huh. What about things like contradictions? Do they bother you? Are they difficult for you? Do you not care about them?
It's yeah, if somebody's words and behaviors contradict,
Uh-huh.
it bothers me a lot.
Uh-huh. So like someone's being dishonest sort of thing with what they're saying, what
Oh,
they're meaning.
yeah.
Yeah.
And if they can't just tell you, like try to hide some, like they can't just like have an honest conversation. Like I'm not I'm not very judgmental and can be pretty blunt, and will try to give someone the opportunity, like pull them aside where they're safe and say, look, like I just want to understand, like I don't care what it is, just tell me what it is,
Right.
and like we'll be good and we'll figure it out. And when they're still not doing that, and like that really really bothers me.
Um, how do you see your sleep? Are you aware that you're doing sleep? Are you aware of the process? Are you able to describe it a little bit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I get in this whole other like, because I've seen it in my own videos, and I know how it feels. It's like I get kind of a little more loose, and like, yeah, man, like when the thing does that, it's like, yeah.
Is there like a process behind it that's going on that isn't seen to the outside world?
It's kind of this, yeah, it's its own, well, it's my masculine FI with my feminine SI. So it's like this circulating loop of my SI, like just flowing through information and reinforcing itself, reinforcing that FI. And I actually purposely take a lot of time at work. Like I'm a massage therapist, so it's just one on one. Somebody's half passed out and it's in a dark, quiet room, and I'm just going through this like these automatic motions that I've been doing for 5 to 6 years. So my brain goes, and that's where I do my sleep.
Are they occurrences that happened, traumatic things, plans?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What's specific?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely look at the same. I get haunted by like these same like series of events that bothered me, and I get down to, it's so elaborate. Like I have this whole like intense inner world, and I can break apart and rip apart all the pieces, and I look at it from like every single angle, all the time, get to the core of what the issue is. And I may not be able to answer that, like resolve that for myself, but I can see it, and the more clearly I see it, the easier it is to deal with. um so I'll be like talking to, my 12, I'll have like my 12 Jungian archetype like talking to each other, and like looking at the same, reliving the same memories, and having alternate conversations about like with it and about it, and
Hmm.
yeah, going through this loop.
Interesting. Um, what what kind of things do you when you get in conversations with someone and it's time for you to actually talk and do your blast? Like sort of like when I ask you a question, you're starting to blast. Are you able to like? Is it uncomfortable? Is it something that you don't feel like you should be doing? Like, do you feel like your blast lasts in those circumstances? Like, is it something that's difficult to find the words, or is it difficult to find the concepts, or?
It's more like this self-consciousness, because I know that most people are not going to understand my NF language,
Uh-huh.
and not because what comes out more is play, and also my own individual goofy language that
Uh-huh.
may not necessarily make sense to anyone but myself.
And so you're trying to tone that down, or you're just letting it
And
out, or?
I'm trying to figure out how to tone that down and how to give a more straightforward answer, but and I don't always know like how much information is needed and how much is too much.
Uh-huh. For the other person to get the concept and piece it together in their head, right?
Right. And it's a little bit easier, like in a casual setting, like one-on-one, because you can kind of see the person's type and how they think. I can figure out how they think pretty quickly and like try to adjust myself a little more. But
Right.
especially as they give me feedback, but like across a whole spectrum, like
Mhm.
that's rough.
Do you find it? Do you find that you need to find a language that they can understand?
Hmm.
Is that part of the struggle?
Hmm.
Right. Is that something that you're looking to do, or is it something that you've learned that you have to do?
Both.
Or yeah, both. Okay. Okay. Um,
I'm working on it right now. I'm going to be starting my own channel, and I have been planning to do this for a while. Um, as soon as I'm finished moving and resettling, um, I'm going to this year. I'm going to start a YouTube channel, and I'm going to write everything out because I'm visual and everything. Write everything out first, and then go to my TE people and say, "Does this make sense?" Make edit, and then present the information.
uh-huh. That's a lot of planning. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or is that something that you're afraid to do, or is that something that you want to do from the beginning? Like that's really the way to do it.
Yeah, it's the way to do it.
Yeah.
It makes me comfortable to, I don't know, like it's, I almost can't settle and just let things go. Like I have to kind of have an idea of like what I'm doing and how things are going to look before I decide this is what I'm going to do.
Right.
This is the path I'm going to take.
Uh-huh. Yeah, you're a planner.
Yeah.
Huh.
Like it
Um,
doesn't look that way on the outside, but very much.
yeah.
Like I'm not regimentally scheduled like at 11:03 a.m. I'm going to do
Right.
this,
Yeah, yeah.
you know.
The feminine SI
Hmm.
or feminine plans. Um, okay, do you have anything that you want to promote as of now? A website? Are you doing private sessions in an area, or you'd rather keep that out of the?
Keep that out for now.
Yeah, keep it out for now. Okay. And your YouTube
I'll be
channel, should we put a link in the description and videos are going to be coming, or we'll also keep that out for now?
keep that out for now. I appreciate it though.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it's not quite ready yet.
All right.
But
Cool.
when it is, I'll definitely be sending that out.
Okay. Awesome. And did you have any advice that you want to give over about your type to anyone that might be the same type as you? Personal growth. Um, yeah.
Yeah, like again, um well, me personally, like I'm double feminine, so I'm soft outside, hard inside. Um and a lot of people you'll hear like what's more common, or not more common, but like more masculine people on the outside, or just people across the spectrum seem to like need to push themselves hard to grow. And I've found the opposite's true for me. Like the easier I am on myself, the more quickly I grow.
Interesting.
And um, yeah, so like the more like I just work with myself and am gentle with myself, um, the more I grow. Also, like for ENFPs across the spectrum, like kind of accept that you have to NETE play out in the world, and there's nothing wrong with you for doing that. Um, Try to tap into your FI values and figure that out. And really, like breaking down those tasks, like make it as simple as possible. Don't
Mhm.
beat yourself up for not being able to do things. Just
Are you naturally more hard on yourself, and you needed to figure that out to to tone it down to stop being so hard on yourself? Yeah.
mm-hmm. And yeah, I've always been naturally hard for myself, and I will push myself like beyond the breaking point, for something, or something I want, or people I love.
Hmm.
So learning that, hey, you don't have to do that.
Right.
Chill, chill.
Are you like
Uh,
perfectionistic sort of thing? Is that also something that you're pushing yourself too hard? Like you want to be perfect or do perfect and you just need to relax on that point, or?
yeah, I guess so. I never
Yeah.
thought about it that way, but yeah, I'm just very, very driven.
Hmm. Okay. Really cool. Awesome. Thank you so much, Shannon. It was a pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have a good one.
Thanks, you too.
Yeah.